The Isaiah Factor Uncensored starts right now.
And welcome to the Factor Uncensored. It is now illegal in 12 states in the United States to use what is known as trans panic or gay panic defense in a court of law. Now, Virginia is the most recent state to enact it, making them the first in the South to do so. Now, our panel discussed how groundbreaking and important this new law is to the entire LGBT community and what exactly it means. We explain. Joining us here on the Factor Uncensored to talk about this is an individual who identifies as trans and non-binary, Cody Miller Pike, and also representing the Montrose Center, Austin Davis Ruiz. First of all, Austin, for those who don't understand the law, it helps in what type of situation? Give us an example, a sample of how this would be used.
Sure. Well, I think probably the most famous case that we can think of is the Matthew Shepard case back in 1998. You know, he was left beaten by two men and tied to a fence post, and they tried to use the gay panic defense, saying that he had made unwelcome sexual advances towards him. Eventually, the judge in that case ruled that they were not able to use that defense, but that's a situation where that might be used, right? And we also want to make sure that we're talking about this to be more inclusive. So we want to make sure that we're saying LGBTQ panic rather than just gay and trans, as it does exclude any other violence against other non-gay or trans members of the community.
Cody, are you shocked that some attorneys would use this as a defense in 2021 for someone who has harmed or even murdered someone, gay, trans, or LGBTQ panic?
To be frank, Isaiah, I'm not shocked for two reasons. Firstly, you know, I think legal ethics require that an attorney always provide the best defense they can muster for their client, and defendants are entitled to that. And the other reason I'm not shocked—
I guess the question would be, are you disappointed that this is still a viable defense in 2021 that attorneys can turn to?
Yeah, I think the LGBT panic, to use Austin's term, defense is disgusting and should not exist in the modern world. And the fact that it's available to defendants and defense attorneys, I think, is something that needs to change. And I applaud Danica Rome for her work in Virginia in getting this kind of defense off the books.
Now, Austin, this is a defense that was also removed in California, right?
Yes, so currently there's 12 states that actually have banned this as a viable defense, plus the territory of DC. Recently, as recent as 2020, there have been legislation introduced in 13 other states, but it has not passed in those states. So this is all to say, this is also why we need things like federal non-discrimination protections, right? This is why we need things like the Equality Act. When we look at hate crimes from 2019, we see that 18.8% of all hate crimes were actually towards LGBTQ identified people. So this really just builds a case that we need some type of sweeping non-discrimination protections for LGBTQ people here in order to ban such defenses like the LGBTQ panic defense.
And Cody, does this renew your faith in the system that they have taken a step like this in Virginia?
It makes me cautiously optimistic. You know, Virginia is the 12th state to get rid of this defense, but it's the first in what we consider the South that has gotten rid of the panic defense. But as Austin was pointing out, 12 states plus the 13 that have introduced this legislation, even if, and this will not happen, even if every single one of those 13 states passed that legislation, we'd still be at only a 50% of United States jurisdictions that prohibit this kind of defense. And I think that is unacceptable. I think this needs to be across the entire nation, a defense that is no longer accessible to defendants when they commit these kinds of hate crimes.
And Austin, you're politically active. You know what Texas is like. Could you ever see a law anytime soon passing in the state of Texas like this?
You know, oddly enough, Texas was actually one of the states where legislation was introduced last year. So it was not too far off that legislators are already thinking about it. But to get back to your point, or your question rather, do I see it passing recently or anytime soon? Unfortunately not, I think realistically, we have to look at the legislators that are currently in our state and the people that are holding power. And unfortunately, I just don't think that they're progressive enough to support getting this type of defense off the books.
Is this something that could be looked at on the local level, maybe in the city, or it has to be a state law?
It could be something that could be looked at the local level. I mean, we were looking at something, called HERO not too long ago, and that would have provided protections for Houstonians, LGBTQ Houstonians, and that was something that we didn't have at the state level. So while we can certainly look at jurisdictions over here locally, really the best bet is going to be have something state or federal in order to protect all LGBTQ Texans.
All right.
Isaiah, can I comment on that really briefly?
Sure, go ahead.
There is actually an effort currently in the 87th legislature to make it not possible for local governments to create these kinds of protective ordinances. So even if
there's an effort to roll back the clock.
Right, there's an effort to create, the argument is that we want a statewide uniformity and avoid a patchwork of different protections. But the problem is the laws that have been suggested in the legislature this session would actually hinder the ability of local governments to create these protections. So relying on local governments, maybe that's a good idea right now, but that's not guaranteed, because at any point, state legislatures could roll that back and say, no, City of Houston or City of San Antonio, City of Austin, you cannot protect LGBT people in your own jurisdiction differently from how they are protected at the state or federal level.
All right. Cody Miller-Pike, who's in the thick of things in Austin most of the time. You know what's going on there with the legislature. And Austin David Ruiz with the Montrose Center. We want to thank you both for joining us here on The Factor Uncensored.